There's no such thing as a small disaster. So when you call 1-800-WATER-DAMAGE of North Dakota, we come prepared to restore your life back to normal. From burst pipes to unexpected mold discoveries or fire damage, when things couldn't be worse, we come to you with our best. With empathy, local expertise, and a truck full of seriously powerful equipment. 1-800-WATER-DAMAGE of North Dakota. Restoring what matters most. 701-670-2022. There's no such thing as a small disaster. So when you call...
Good morning. I'm meteorologist Lisa Green, and welcome to this Valley News Now weather update brought to you by 1-800-WATER-DAMAGE of North Dakota. We're going to get into what happened, what just hit us over the last 24 hours. It was a little bit of everything, it felt like, across the valley. And of course, just as we're winding things down, we've got new alerts coming out for our second round of first alert weather days. We're watching out for a storm system for Saturday and into Sunday that could have some impacts on your weekend plans. So we're going to look ahead to that and also talk about some fun stuff in the forecast too, the potential for some northern lights. And in addition to that, yesterday, Thursday is when I usually do my learning with Lisa, and we were going to go over El Nino. We just got a new update on that. It has impacts on our climate around here, and so we'll go over that in just a little bit as well. So lots to get into, so let's get right to it. Behind me, we've got a picture from a viewer yesterday who went to our website, uploaded the photo right there, and showed us what she was seeing. This is from Brenda. At the time, she took this photo in the Larimore area. She said there's about 3 inches of snow and slush. We did get an update this morning of about a little over 5 inches of snow in that area that fell. So Northern Valley definitely was the wintry area. And taking a look at some of our snowfall reports, you can see that we've got some numbers that are into the into that 6+ range for a few spots right now. Park Rapids at 7.5, Nevis at 6. And these are just preliminary numbers. These are just the numbers that have come in. If you are looking for a measurement where you are, well, we'd appreciate hearing from you. Head out and take that measurement and let us know. Otherwise, we can really only pass along what is shared with us because we can't be everywhere to measure the snow. So this is what we are getting in. Grand Forks at the National Weather Service office, a report of 5.7 inches of snow. Walhalla, should have put North Dakota there on the end, is sitting at 5.3. And Fargo is interesting. We saw a lot of things yesterday in Fargo. We had rain, we had sleet, we had huge snow chunks. This big, even bigger than I can make that circle here, because we were right on that line, that rain snow line, as we kind of expected to be in the southern end of the valley for a lot of spots. And you know, when flakes start to fall and they're kind of near that melting point, and they might have a little bit more water than flake, or maybe just on the edges of the flakes there's some water, that can be sticky. And so then flakes start to stick together as they're falling and tumbling within a storm. And next thing you know, you've got these huge flakes. They're called aggregates that fall. So we saw that, but temperatures are pretty warm. So a lot of it melted as it hit the ground. So just a very, different situation depending on where you were. There were places that had thunderstorms too. We'll go over that in a little bit as well. So those are your snow reports. We did get some pretty decent wind too. Here's a look at our wind gusts. We in Sisseton had 74 mile-per-hour wind. That's the top speed I've seen so far for our viewing area for this part of the world. So that was the highest there. Herman and Oaks also got to 71 miles per hour. Those communities both in the southern end of the valley, North Dakota and Minnesota. And then Gwinner was 67. Fargo, maybe you heard that 64 mile per hour gust overnight last night. And then Tenney area also saw that too, not too far. Kent had 63, Beltrami, same number, and Wahpeton and Jamestown came in at 62. By the way, these numbers are all over the threshold. If it was a thunderstorm producing those winds, it would be considered a severe thunderstorm because you need to have wind gusts of 58 miles per hour for that to happen. So, of course, those winds have to be produced by that thunderstorm. This was just environmental wind from the intensity that we were experiencing with this system. So some very strong wind gusts. And we'll look at the map here too. Those were some of our highest numbers, but maybe if you're wondering how it was where you are, it wasn't as intense, but we were still windy. This is the gusts for today so far. So the way we have these maps, they're divided at the midnight hour. So today, this morning, early morning hours, we had some gusts in the 50s and 60s. And north, we were 30s, 40s, near 50. And that is enough to create blizzard conditions. We saw that in spots in the north. And then looking back to yesterday, this is when we saw some of our highest gusts. That's when we hit 64 before midnight in Fargo, 71 in Oaks, at 74 in Sisseton, and more places, 50s in that southern end of the valley. Jamestown had a 60-mile-per-hour gust there with that report. So again, windy weather, we had thunderstorms, we had a wind that continues to be a factor for us. This is our DOT cam at in Warren along Highway 1 in Minnesota. You can see that we've got drifting across the roadway. There's likely ice on the roads and compacted snow. So this is something you may encounter today. So things are starting to quiet down, but it's not perfect yet. It's not free and clear. Looking at our view in Fargo, this is actually from West Fargo at the Red River Valley Fairgrounds. You can see the sun shining through some clouds, a little filtered sunshine and clouds passing by. And from time to time, we're seeing some flurries still as this system's still influencing our weather. In fact, if you look closely at the bottom of the screen with the dark earth background there, you can sometimes see a little flash, like a sparkle. That's an ice crystal, a snowflake passing by. So still dealing with that as we are working our way through the morning hours here this morning. So yeah, not free and clear. So we still have our first alert weather day. We'll likely drop that in the next few hours as conditions continue to improve. Give ourselves a little bit of a break before the next round comes our way. So let's take a look. I want to take a quick look at our road maps. Okay, I got a little ahead of myself. There's the wind there. We'll look at that for a second while I pull up our road maps. We do have some areas where we had a travel alert in effect, so let's check in on where that's at. So to go to road maps, head to valleynewslive.com/weather, and then road conditions, all sorts of things available here on our list. So road conditions, North Dakota. And you can see we're still under a travel alert in this area highlighted in light purple. So that includes Devil's Lake area, Grand Forks, up along the border, down into, it looks like Griggs and Steele counties also under that travel alert. And then lots of yellow on our highways, not just in northeastern North Dakota, but all the way back into the northwestern part of the state. That's ice and compacted snow. And then snow-covered roads near Grand Forks, either ice or snow in Grand Forks and Grand Forks County. And then improved conditions farther south because, again, we did not have that kind of snow in the south like we did in the northern part of the valley. And then on the Minnesota side, we'll take a quick look. And you can see that we've got blue and pink. And on our legend on the Minnesota DOT map, that means partially covered or completely covered. You have to hover over these to see more details. So I'm hovering over Highway 2, compacted snow on the roadway being reported. So some issues there, and lots of plows out working to continue to clear the roadways. This is something, again, you might see some snow compacted on the road, just like we saw in that report. And this is on that Highway 2 corridor. So a well-traveled highway. Looks like that. Your secondary highways and roads may be a little tougher too. So that's a quick look at our road maps. Let's get back to our wind speeds. They continue to be a factor, but you can see that they're not as strong as they were. We've got gusts of 31 in Fargo, a 33-mile-per-hour gust in Fergus Falls, Sisseton at 35, wind out of the north or northwest, so that's cooler air moving in. And taking a look at our visibility, still down a bit. Again, that's all thanks to more likely blowing snow going on. We've got visibility at 1.5 miles in Baudette and Boston. Areas where it's down, like in Fargo at 4 miles here. This is likely because we have a few of those lingering flurries and flakes. Grand Forks may be also seeing some blowing snow going on. And so here's a look at our radar. You can see that we've got some areas of kind of two areas we're watching out for here. We've got this system that's moving on, still affecting Duluth area, but mostly the Great Lakes. This system's a fast mover. And then watching to the west, there are some snow showers in South Dakota, and we're going to be watching for a developing system heading into Saturday coming up here. So that's kind of a preview of what we'll be talking about in a moment. But you can see on our radar here in the valley, lots of areas where we're clear on the satellite layer, and then there are some spots where we have some clouds. So anywhere where we have clouds, don't be surprised if you see a flurry passing by, as we still have some lingering instability here in the valley. So looking at something I kind of honed in on from last night, I want to show you, just to kind of show you that dramatic difference we were seeing, even from one county to the next. I paused the radar here at 7:21 in the evening, and we had two different things going on here. So here's Fargo. Southwestern parts of Cass County, you see these lightning bolts? I've circled this little thunderstorm here. Lightning and thunder happening at that point in time. And then as we look one county over up into Trail County, heavy snow over Hillsborough and Mayville. So it wasn't far away. And so that rain-snow line made all the difference. And for some of us, we saw all rain. For some of us, it was all snow. And places like Fargo, it was a lot of different things happening right on that line. And then the heavy snow, Grand Forks. And not just north, we also saw some of that heavy snow over to the east toward Detroit Lakes. Our highest report, I believe, was Park Rapids. I'm pretty sure that's what it was. So again, some heavier snowfall in some places, and then others were dealing with thunderstorms. So again, just another reminder of how dynamic this system was. And as far as just the liquid in this snow or the rain that fell, so for the Inkster area, that's the highest report so far at close to 0.6 of an inch of liquid moisture. Grand Forks, 0.41. And in Fargo, we only had a trace of snow reported, but we had more than 1/4 of an inch of rain or liquid moisture. So maybe it was 1/4 of an inch of rain and snow melt and sleet, all of that at the airport in Fargo. So again, interesting system. Now we're looking out for the next one. So here's what we're watching today. Still dealing with some wind and blowing snow. That will eventually move on and will quiet things down for the afternoon. Saturday, another first alert weather day. We're watching for that second system. We're looking out for the heavy snow and wind to develop in the south. That is going to be the area that we're most focused on now. Our models, if you've been following all week, the models were completely in disagreement on the track somewhere in the region, but either we were getting everything or we were getting nothing. Well, now we're kind of meeting in the middle in our models here, and so that's more for the Southern Valley at this point. And so it starts up Saturday, especially in the second half of the day, and continues into Sunday. We're looking out for some snowy conditions, windy morning in the south, snowy in the south and a windy morning. And then in addition to that, the system will start moving on Sunday. So similar time frame where a lot of the action's happening in the evening, carrying overnight, and into the morning hours before things start to improve, kind of like what we've seen last night and this morning. So still active. We've got, today is our second of 4 first alert weather days. Again, we'll get into that break tonight, and we'll talk about that here. You can see the wind coming down as we go into the afternoon. We'll see those gusts diminish, so the evening drive will be a lot quieter here for tonight. Any plans that you have for your Friday night, it'll be a lot quieter. It might get a little cold, though, and we do have that fresh snow, so make sure you're prepared if you're traveling. And then our afternoon planner, temperatures stay mainly below freezing. We're looking at teens to 20 north and 20s to about 30 in the south, and then a mix of some sun and some clouds across the valley this afternoon. And again, not as windy. Okay, so all of the alerts from last night's event, they're over for us right now. There's still a winter storm warning for the Duluth area, but for us here in the valley, that's done. So we're looking ahead to the next round. So we have had new alerts raised for this system coming up for tomorrow and into Sunday. What was just raised is this winter storm warning. It includes St. Cloud, it includes the Twin Cities, points south, all the way to the Iowa state line if you're heading in that direction for the weekend. Just know this is a kind of a bullseye for some heavy snow. The forecast here could be more than 1 foot of snow in this area. Now we're going to be on the northern end of this, so that amount drops off a little bit, but we're still looking out for that possibility for southern counties getting some heavy snow. So we're talking about those areas in this winter storm watch have the potential of that 6-inch or more snowfall range. And this could shift a little bit again. And then just because we're not in a watch right now in places like Fargo, that doesn't mean we're not going to see snow. It's just we may not see winter storm warning level snow. And again, that could change. We could end up with a winter storm warning. So if you've got plans to be out and about here this weekend, check back with us, check the VNL weather app for the latest. And it's not just the snow. This one's going to have some wind too, not as intense as the last one, but still some gusts to 40 miles per hour. And so that combo will lead to some very low visibility. So that may have you wondering about the St. Patrick's Day parade coming up for Saturday. Well, right now, I am thinking that the parade's at 11 a.m. I'm thinking that what we're going to see is the system's going to be building in through the day. So we have a good shot. I know there's a run ahead of this too. we have a good shot of getting that in, getting the parade in before the flakes start flying. But once we start moving into the afternoon, especially into the evening, that's when we're going to see that potential for snow. And I know we've got the bar crawl, other events going on in the evening. So dress for snowy weather if you're going to be doing anything on Saturday. And temperatures, it's going to be colder than this Saturday morning at 11, but the high for the day is 32 degrees for Fargo. So not too bad. But you'll still, winter coat. So let's show you how this will come about, how this will progress as we go through time. I'm actually starting things off at noon today because I just want to once again stress that it's going to be a lot quieter through the afternoon and into the evening. This is 11 o'clock, partly cloudy. It's going to be fluctuating between, clear skies at times and then partly cloudy to mostly cloudy skies. One thing to mention, if we can clear out enough, there is the potential for northern lights tonight. We did get a picture in from a viewer up in the Badger area where it cleared out enough to see some northern lights last night. So this may happen again here heading into tonight. And then moving on into the day tomorrow, this is 7 a.m. Still looking pretty quiet around the valley, out to western North Dakota, South Dakota, more active at that point. And then in comes that chance for some snow. It is possible that that snow moves in a little sooner, so I don't want to rule out that possibility for snow in the morning hours. The likelihood is just greater that we'll see it into the afternoon. This is 4 p.m. I-94 going to be a snowy drive if this scenario pans out at 4 o'clock in the afternoon into North Dakota and into Minnesota, that potential for some snow. And then that continues to lift northward, filling in places. I-94, Highway 10, Highway 34, this line right here, best likelihood and points south for getting a decent amount of snow. And then the chances drop off pretty steeply heading north. So, if you got the snow in the northern valley last night and you don't want any more, well, now your neighbors to the south are getting in on it. And if you wanted some and you felt like you missed out, well, now you're getting it and your neighbors to the north are getting a break for this weekend. Doesn't mean we won't see snow in the north. You can see Grand Forks is looking to perhaps get a quick little snow shower pass through heading into Saturday night. Now, I pause this around, well, it's close to that 3 o'clock hour. This is in the morning, Saturday night and into Sunday morning. We've got the potential for some very heavy snowfall rates with this one. Right now, the track of that is more down toward Watertown, Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and then again into Minnesota, around Minneapolis, points south, and maybe even up to St. Cloud. But again, if this shifts a little bit more, that heavier snowfall rate could happen for us, again, in our far southern counties. Not everybody gets in on that. So that's something we'll be watching for as this system evolves. And then even into Sunday morning, there's still some lingering snow while they're getting some heavy snow in Minneapolis. Still into Sunday morning. The wind picks up in the wake of this yet again. And we're watching that snow depart, moving on into the afternoon and evening and clearing out by the time we get into Sunday night. But it may still be on the windy side. So again, if you have plans, especially travel plans this weekend, it's important to stay weather aware. Practice those winter safety driving rules, all of the things we've been talking about all winter long. Don't forget you need your coat and your snow boots. I know we're kind of done with all of that. We want to be at least, but we'll still need them. Here's a look at our snowfall potential. And again, I want to stress that this could shift a little north, it could shift a little south, but you can get the general idea of how it's looking for your area. So through Sunday nights, we're looking at northern tier, Highway 2 points north. A lot of places may not see anything at all. And then there may be some spots that get a quick coating or dusting of snow. Then we see that chance ramp up farther south you go. So Fargo, kind of in that 3-inch range. We may get more. Some models are bringing that heavier amount a little farther north. So we may end up in that 3 to 6-inch range in places like Fargo. But right now, kind of in the middle ground, we're around 3-inch snowfall. And then even heavier snow to the south along that South Dakota line. Basically where we have that winter storm watch right now is where we have that best bet for that 6+ range in the valley. And then again, heavier amounts way to the south, it's looking like at the moment, down toward Watertown and toward Minneapolis. I'm blocking Minneapolis here, but you can see they're in the heavier amounts with this particular scenario. So again, watching this for the weekend to have some impacts on us. And I also want to stress, again, there will be some wind. We'll see some wind gusts in the south in that 30 to 40 mile per hour range. So that is enough to cause, trouble with visibility, whiteout conditions, some drifting going on. Temperatures this weekend, For Saturday, for your St. Patrick's Day events, not bad. A high of 32 in Fargo, 20s to some low 30s essentially across the valley with those snow chances building in. Sunday morning snow by the afternoon. We're only in the teens and we've got that wind still going. So still some blowing snow on Sunday. It's going to be the colder day of the two, but the day that has the less likelihood of seeing some snowfall. So talking about being tired of winter, we're bringing it back. The stages of the North Dakota, Minnesota winter here in the valley. I've moved our arrow down, and now you are here. The depths of despair. Again, this is just joking around, having fun with it. And the reason for this is because we had a really nice weekend last weekend. It felt like spring. Well, now we're back into snow chances. We just saw one winter storm. We've got another one coming our way. But we're working our way through, and pretty soon it'll feel and transition to actual spring before summertime comes. So just having a little fun with things here again. Here's a look at our planner over the next few days. Again, first alert weather days. We'll take a break from it this afternoon and then back into it on Saturday and Sunday with that next system and the wind associated with it. And that cool down continues into Monday, and then we start to warm back up. So Tuesday, this is a day to watch because Tuesday is actually St. Patrick's Day. It's the 17th. And there's another clipper that sweeps through in our long-range models that right now looks to pass to our north. So instead of the low passing right over us like it just did, this one just did, this one will have that cold front more likely draped from it, and it will sweep through the potential for, with that instability, some snow, but it may be a brief shot. So just keeping an eye on Tuesday for that. And then heading into Wednesday, once that system clears, we start to see temperatures moderate. And right now it looks like we've got some warmer weather to come toward the end of the week and heading into next weekend. So next weekend's your chance at some spring-like weather if you feel like you've been missing out on the warmer weather here today and heading into the weekend as well. And again, a reminder, the wind is coming down today. This morning it's stronger. Heading into the afternoon it starts to ease up. So I'm going to show you I'm going to bring up our Skycam, and then I'm just going to pop on over to our Facebook page, see if we've got any questions from viewers here on what we are going to experience or what we've been seeing. Not seeing anything. Okay. Yeah, no questions. But yeah, if you have a report to pass along, you know, maybe you've got a certain amount of snow at your location, or maybe you had a thunderstorm pass by. We want to hear about that with this last system that moved through. Please feel free to do so. And as far as the northern lights are concerned, the potential for tonight, here's a look. This is from NOAA, this Space Weather Prediction Center. Tonight's aurora forecast, this red line here, that's the view line. So that's like the minimum line to be able to see it on that very low horizon, and we are above that in the forecast for tonight. The question is, it's not going to be an intense solar storm, but we could still see some of that green glow on that northern horizon if we get some clearing going on. There will be some pockets into this evening, so something to keep in mind. Tomorrow night looks like we haven't had an update yet for tomorrow night. That looks like the same as tonight, so waiting on that. But tomorrow night it's going to be pretty cloudy with the system passing through, so I think our chances are looking a little bit less for that. And okay, I'm going to just quick, because I did promise this, we'll go through it really quick. The El Nino, as we load that in, it will take a minute. But bring up the El Nino transition that we may be going through here in the forecast. So here's a look at, goodness, I think I'm in the wrong, bear with me guys. Technology is being very slow. It happens to us as well here. But we do have a transition happening. We've been in a La Nina, and now moving into the El Nino phase of ENSO. ENSO stands for El Nino Southern Oscillation, and that is, it has impacts on us here in the Red River Valley, in the upper Midwest. And so we want to talk about it because this could have some implications for our spring and our summertime. So here we go. We got the graphics working now. So again, this is part of a segment I'm doing every week, once a week on Thursdays. We're calling it Learning with Lisa. I like a good alliteration here. And so learning about El Nino and learning about La Nina, the opposite of El Nino, and talking about how it's impacting our weather. So let's get into El Nino first. Right now we are in a La Nina, just keep that in mind. But this is what happens during an El Nino. We've gone over this before, but in case you are new here, here's a look at what it means. So you have to go all the way down to the Pacific to see something that's actually going to have impacts on us here in the upper Midwest. So what happens is we get a lot of our weather coming in out of the west, the westerlies, as the overall wind pattern that we experience here in the temperate part of the globe. Closer to the equator, we get some easterly winds in the tropics, and so those easterlies push the warm water at the surface, if they're strong enough. They push that warm water over to the central part of the Pacific. So it's just kind of moving that warmer surface water over. In certain years, those trade winds weaken. And so what happens is those easterly trade winds, what happens is those winds weaken, and then other winds are stronger out of the west, and we see some of that warmer water pool over the west coast of the South American continent. And so, and the reason it's called El Nino is because El Nino is Spanish. It means the boy child. It has to do with Christmas time. And so the reason it was named that is because fishermen who speak Spanish off the coast of South America noted that the waters were warmer during these events. And so they would label it an El Nino because it came around Christmas time. Winter time is when it's noticed. So that's where the name comes from. And so when that happens, when we get those warmer waters over the eastern Pacific, that affects our weather because the air above it starts to get more saturated because that water's warm, so it's evaporating into the air, and eventually it becomes clouds and thunderstorms, and that shifts weather patterns around the globe. And the way it shifts them is to impact us in the winter time. This is a typical wintertime pattern for El Nino. Is to bring us, in general, a warmer pattern. We get some milder air during this time. And the signals are pretty strong for the upper Midwest to have a lot of winters that trend warmer during El Nino events. Doesn't happen every time, but it's a possibility. So La Nina, what we've been going through is the opposite of that. So let's go through that really quick here. La Nina is, again, the opposite. So instead of those trade winds weakening, they actually strengthen. So we see those winds really push that warmer water off to the west, and that allows the colder water beneath to rise. And that allows cooling going on over this part of the Pacific, and that shapes and helps to drive our weather patterns in a different way around the globe. And by the way, the warmer water out to the west also affecting the weather patterns too. And that sets up a pattern, a typical pattern for us here that involves colder air driving southeast right over the upper Midwest. And so we have, in overall more cold outbreaks and or the potential with the Pacific jet kind of kicking in for more active weather and more precipitation. The signal, again, stronger for temperatures. So in a typical wintertime pattern for La Nina, we tend to overall trend colder than average. That doesn't mean that we don't have warm days, that there aren't breaks from the cold, but when we average it all together, it runs a little bit colder. And so we've been in a La Nina. This is just released from the Climate Prediction Center, and so El Nino Southern Oscillation probabilities here for March. So this can be a little bit confusing. This is, each one of these grouped bars on this bar graph is a 3-month season. So they label a season as 3 months long. And so the blue means La Nina, chances of La Nina, gray means neutral, and red means chances of El Nino. And so right now, as in these letters here, FMA, hopefully you can see them. Let me bring this up full screen. I like to be able to point to it, but you also have to be able to read it too, right? So let's pull this up full screen. And you can see that there are some seasons here that are different letters. Well, FMA means February, March, April. MAM, March, April, May, June, July. So that's kind of how this goes. It shifts ahead a month, but it includes 3 months each season. And look where this is trending. So we've been in La Nina. We're still in a La Nina advisory. But we're also in an El Nino watch now. That's new. So we're trending back to greater chances of neutral conditions in the next month. And then more likely heading into the following season, we're definitely working our way toward greater chances of neutral conditions. And the outlook is that there's a chance for El Nino to develop JJA, that is June, July, August in the summertime, and then continue on into the fall and winter. And if that happens, well, what did we just talk about? Well, if that happens and we work our way back into an El Nino, then we have the potential for having generally on average warmer than average temperatures coming up here. So that's the possibility that we are looking out for as we're looking ahead to next winter. And El Nino and La Nina do tend to have a greater impact on the winter months. And then these are just some model plots. Each one of these lines is a model, a climate model, that is indicating, where we're headed. So the black line is where we've been, observation, and so here we are leading into March. And then the models try to output what they think is going to happen. And these numbers, this is the deviation from average. So 0 would be the average sea surface temperature over that region we just showed you in the eastern Pacific. And when you hit half a degree below, then you're classified in a La Nina for a time here. We've been on a weak La Nina. But look where we're heading, back to average, and potentially, now there's a wide spread the farther out you go, but potentially, as we look at these solutions, the possibility here is that we would be pushing into a half a degree above average. So looking at that possibility for El Nino coming our way. And so here's the details. So again, La Nina advisory continues, and El Nino watch is in effect. That just got raised. And so in a transition from La Nina to ENSO neutral conditions, that's expected to happen in the next month. And then we will see the potential for coming into the springtime, more in the springtime and early summer, staying in neutral conditions. It's after that that we may see El Nino develop. So if you're sick of winter, want to be done with it here, we are looking at better weather for that, better conditions here as we are looking ahead. So let's see here. My camera's not behaving, so I'm not going to be able to pull my camera back up, it looks like. We'll just leave it at that then. It's been an interesting winter. We're coming out of it with some interesting weather. Want to make sure we're staying tuned to the potential for our next winter storm system coming up for the end of the month, or excuse me, this weekend. We could see more winter storms for the end of the month, but this weekend specifically, we have first alert weather days and a winter storm watch for the southern portion of our viewing area. So more snow chances to come here this weekend. So stay safe if you're going to be out and about traveling. Have some safe travels, and we'll be meeting you again here or Monday rather, to talk more about the weather heading into next week and the warm-up that will eventually be coming after this next system moves through. This has been your weather update brought to you by 1-800-WATER-DAMAGE of North Dakota.
1-800-WATER-DAMAGE of North Dakota. We come prepared to restore your life back to normal. From burst pipes to unexpected mold discoveries or fire damage, when